Wonderful. Thank you, everyone. Okay, so find your comfortable seated position on your mat. Remember what we said, if you need a little bit of height, then take a cushion, or in my case, I'm going to use a nice big Zafu bolster. I need all the help I can get these days. And I'm going to suggest that we sit in a cross-leg position. Cross-leg is not comfortable for everyone. So if you have to sit wide leg, or maybe you've got one knee bent and one leg straight, it doesn't matter. Just find a position that you can be comfortable in. We're going to be here for a while, so you don't want to be adjusting too much. Let's take a moment to check in with our alignment. So gently lean backwards, almost as though you're creating a straight line from the back of the head to the back of the tailbone. Feel as though you're lifting and lengthening out of the sit bones. The underside of the chin parallel to the floor. The top of the head parallel to the ceiling. I'll remind you at this point to rest the tongue in the well of the mouth. And if during our practice you find that your tongue becomes stuck to the roof of your mouth, just notice that. There's no judgment here, but just be aware that that generally means that you're concentrating a little bit too hard. So you want to relax the tongue, keep the jaw nice and released. And for now, we're just going to take the backs of the hands and rest them on the inside of the thighs, so the palms are facing up towards the ceiling in a gesture of receptivity. You might prefer to close your eyes, or even just to soften your focus as you begin to bring your awareness to the breath. I like to start by noticing the sensations of the breath. Just noticing the air cool on the in-breath, a little warmer on the out-breath. Giving yourself permission to slow the breath down. Starting to notice that with each deeper inhalation, the lungs and the rib cage expand a little more widely. With each exhalation, you're allowing your body to become a little heavier, softening the shoulders, releasing your weight into the floor. Follow the breath from the tip of the nose along the nasal passages. Feel the breath over the throat center. Allow that exhalation to lengthen again. A good tip for calming down is to allow that out breath to be longer than the in breath. Noticing where the breath feels sticky and trying to find even length. A steady breath in to widen and expand into the lungs and the rib cage. A long breath out, releasing any tension in the body. Now at this stage, before we get too comfortable here, I'm just going to adjust the hand position. So we're going to take the left hand and rest it over the heart center. We'll take the right hand and rest it just onto the belly. Now continue that pattern of a deep inhalation, a long, steady exhalation. So we'll notice the inhalation, the hand on the chest, gently pushes away from the body. The exhalation, you can feel your whole body soften into the floor. Let's direct this next inhalation all the way down to the belly. Feel that right hand push away from the stomach, widen through the chest. Then as you exhale, feel the chest and the belly release. Inhaling deeply to the belly, the chest, and the collarbones. Exhaling fully from the collarbones, the chest, and the belly laughs. Inhaling to the belly, the chest, and the collarbones. Exhaling from the collarbones, the chest, and the belly laughs. One further full deep inhalation. This time as you exhale, release with an audible sigh. One more time, that deep, full inhalation. Release again with an audible sigh. Now allow your breath to find its natural rhythm, its own pattern. No forcing or manipulating the breath. Just coming back to a nice, regular, steady rhythm. If you've had your eyes closed, let's just blink the eyes open. And we're going to take the hands away from the heart, from the belly, bring the hands in front of the heart space, and we're going to briskly rub the hands together. So we're creating heat here, building energy, creating prana to warm through the body, getting quite hot now on the hands. If you've got glasses, you might want to pop them on top of your head as we now bring the palms of the hands to just rest over the eyes. Just enjoy that softening, that heat, releasing tension over the eyebrows, into the forehead, relaxing the cheeks. Then we'll take the index finger and the middle finger, and we're going to trace the line from the space between the eyebrows over the eyebrow line. So you're almost applying a little bit of pressure here, drawing that index finger, middle finger out past the temple. Return those two fingers again into that part in the center, draw over the eyebrows and release. Just a little bit of drainage here at the top of the sinuses. It's a good time of year to release. Now let's keep the index finger, middle finger together. And we're just going to draw little circles into the temples now. Draw your circles backwards towards your ears, towards your hairline. Then we're going to trace the line of the, forgotten the word of it now, the cheekbones, that's the word. Then bring those fingers all the way up to underneath the eye sockets. So the next drainage action we're going to do is to pull down to the outside of the nose and draw those fingers all the way out over the cheekbones. Lift the fingers up, replace them either side of the nose, and again draw the fingertips out. One more time, we'll do that little bit of drainage, either side of the nose, drawing the fingertips out over the cheekbones. And then we'll just take the fingers now and we'll ever so gently tap the fingertips all over the forehead. Come down over those cheekbones. Keep those tapping fingers traveling down over the face, around the jawline. And when you reach that corner where the jawline is just underneath the ears, let's come back to the index finger and middle finger together. And again, we're going to draw little circles here, applying gentle pressure. It's not uncommon for us to sort of grind or clench the teeth together. These muscles often become overworked, so let's give them a little bit of release. Then we'll draw the index finger, middle finger together towards the chin. Turn that into a little tapping sensation again, just at the end of the chin. Then bring the fingertips behind the back of the neck. We're actually going to make an interlock here behind the back of the neck. So find that interlock And then allow the weight of your neck, the weight of your upper body to lean into that space. Let's spread the elbows wide so that we're opening through the chest. Releasing the shoulders down. Just keeping an eye that that chin isn't popping up into the air. We want to keep that retracted. Lovely. Take another deep breath in through the nose. As you exhale through the mouth, just let the hands drift down by your side. So that exercise is a little bit warming. You might find that your face is a little tingly now. There's certainly some heat generated in the heart center. So we'll take a moment to squeeze the shoulders up towards the ears on an in-breath. On an out-breath, release, let it go. Inhale, squeeze the shoulders up. Exhale, release and let it go. A little more control now as we inhale to squeeze the shoulders up, roll the shoulders back. And we're going to change that to become little circles. So rolling the shoulders up, back and down. Last week, we also added in drawing the shoulder blades together. So you're almost trying to touch those shoulder blades together through the back, just to keep this space through the shoulders nicely supported. Gentle movements. One further full circle here. Release the shoulders back and down. And let's reposition the hands to the insides of the thighs with the palms turned up. So that first position that we created where we almost leaned back, that now should feel a little easier to achieve. We've got that straight line from the back of the head to the tailbone. And for those of us who've been in a cross-leg position from the beginning, let's just switch the cross over, just so that we've got the opposite foot in front, behind, just so that the hips can find a little bit of balance here. Lovely. Now we're going to follow the nose rather than the chin. We talked a little bit about this last week. If you allow your chin to lead all the time, this just creates tension in the back of the neck. So keep the chin nicely retracted, that means drawn back. Follow the nose and take your gaze over the right shoulder. The underside of the chin parallel to that shoulder. And just notice, have you lifted the shoulders up to meet the chin? Let's relax them down. Now, keeping your head perfectly still, use your eyes now to take your gaze even further back towards that back corner in your room. Keeping the head perfectly still now, bring your gaze back to that midpoint. Take your gaze up towards the ceiling. Lower your gaze down towards the floor. Then bring your gaze all the way towards the front, keeping your head where it is. So it feels strange on the eyes. A nice bit of exercise for those eye muscles. Bring the gaze back to that comfortable midpoint. Then lower the chin onto the shoulder. Trace the line of the shoulder. So we're taking the chin from one shoulder over the collarbones, all the way to the opposite shoulder. If you're stiff like me, you might get a little bit of crunching in the neck here. Let's allow those shoulders to release back and relax again. And again, keeping the head perfectly still. Take the eyes towards the back of the room. Return your gaze to that comfortable midpoint. Look up towards the ceiling. Bring the gaze forward. Look down towards the floor. Bring the gaze to center. Then again, without moving the head, turn your eyes as if you're trying to see the screen. Then bring your gaze back to that comfortable point. Slowly and gently lower the chin once more onto the shoulder. This time we're only tracing the line to halfway, taking the chin onto that little notch between the collarbones and just resting the weight of your head here. Engage the core. Gently lift your gaze forward once more, realigning the back of the head to the back of the tailbone. Perfect. Now let's lift the arms up. So we're going to come out into an ego eradicator pose. So we start by spreading the fingers wide. Remind yourself that we're drawing the shoulder blades together, lifting the sternum. So it's kind of like you're lifting the rib cage off the belly, engaging the core. No tension here in the jaw, in the face. Bringing the fingertips now in towards the palms, thumbs up. Give me a fawns A. Keep the shoulder blades drawn together. Again, heat building, widening through the heart center, engaging all those muscles at the side of the rib cage into the waistline. Keep that core engaged. Open the fingers out once more. Wiggle the fingers. Beautiful. Let's control the hands back to a space in front of the shoulders. Again, we want to avoid leaning into this, so keep that nice line through the back of the head to the tailbone, extending the fingertips forward, drawing the shoulders back and down, lifting through the sternum, engaging the core. It's kind of as if you can imagine I'm pulling your wrists away from you as you lean back. Bring the palms together, right forefinger stacked to the top of the hand. Open the palms towards the heart center. Keep those elbows nice and soft as we turn the hands inside out. For those of you who know that you have a little limitation in the shoulders, we're going to take this nice and steady. Take a deep breath in. As you exhale, engage the core and just start to float the hands up. And pause when you get to the point beyond mild discomfort. Work with the breath to start to work through your full range of movement. I'll remind you, shoulder injuries probably limit your range of movement in this action. Pressing through the palms, opening towards the ceiling, keeping those shoulders released away from the ears. Just making sure that no one's pushing the chest forward here. Keep the core engaged. Then float the hands back down again to that heart center. It's very subtle, but we're now going to just slightly change the emphasis of this by putting the left forefinger to the top, making the same interlock, keeping those elbows soft, and again working through that range of movement. If you already know that coming over the head is either uncomfortable or painful for you, that you're not within your range of movement, try taking the arms down and away. Push through the palms, draw the shoulder blades back. Feel that activity in the forearms, on top of the triceps. We're just building those muscles again, giving them a little bit of security. So hold the position that's comfortable for you. Pressing through the palms, keeping the shoulders down away from the ears. Then as you exhale, release, bringing the hands back to heart center, separating the hands, giving the fingers a little wiggle again. And just to give us a little release on the knees and on the hips for some of us, we're going to take the legs wide instead of maintaining that cross leg position. So when we go into wide leg, key to remember is that you're not pushing the back of the knees to the floor, that you keep the knees nice and soft. And it helps to be active by switching the toes on, pushing the toes up towards the ceiling, keeping the inner thighs nice and open. Lovely. Inhale to lift and lengthen. Then as you exhale, as we did last week, we're just going to take a little walk forward. So if you have elected to sit on a block or a cushion, this will feel more challenging than sitting on the floor. You don't have to come off it if you don't want to, but just be kind to yourself. Don't push it and don't let it open your lower back too much. I'll sit side on to remind you what we're looking for here. We want to maintain that lovely diagonal from the back of the head to the tailbone. So if this is the maximum that I can get to, I'm going to stop there rather than trying to get deeper and curving the spine. I'm not gaining anything by doing that. So every out breath, just finding a little more space into this fold. Then as you exhale, engage the core, lift yourself back again to center. We'll stay wide leg. For most of us, it's a little more comfortable than cross leg. We'll lift and lengthen again out of the sit bones. I'm going to take the right hand, place it behind the right hip, and bring the left hand to the outside of that right thigh. So you almost feel as though you're lifting and lengthening out of the sit bones once more. Then take the left side and draw it towards the back of the room. This time you can allow your head to follow that shoulder, look over the shoulder towards the back of the room, and just feel that nicely gentle twist through the spine into the side of the waist. As you release, exhale, bring the shoulders back to face center. Then we'll take opposite hand behind the hip. Take that right hand onto the left thigh, lift up and lengthen. Exhale, come into the twist on this side. Drawing the shoulder blades together, lifting it out of the sit bones, turning your gaze over that shoulder. Then returning again to face front. If you need to stay in this wide leg position, then you're welcome to do so. Otherwise, I suggest we go back to that first cross leg position. So in my case, I've got the left foot drawn in, the right foot stacked in front, lifting and lengthening. I'm going to place the right hand down on the floor next to me, extend the right hand away, lift and lengthen through the left arm. So the first action is finding a diagonal line from fingertip to fingertip. If that top arm starts to lean forward, we'll put our spine in a little bit of a bad position. So try to keep open through the chest. Encourage that right elbow to drift towards the floor as you lengthen through the left arm. Keep that left upper arm tracking along the outside of the left ear. Keep lengthening through the fingertips, deepening into that side of the body. Then inhale to lift, come back to center. Extend and lengthen to take the same stretch on the opposite side. Drawing that left elbow down, reaching over with the right arm, pressing that right sit bone to the floor. Beautiful. Then inhaling to lift again back towards center. Let's now take the hands in front of the ankles. So we've done this as a wide leg fold. There's less space to be had by doing it with the legs crossed, but let's just try walking those hands forward, working a little bit here into the inner thighs. Some of us will feel a little bit of tension in the knees, might feel a little odd across the front of the shins. Keep those shoulder blades drawn together. Lift through the sternum, keep your gaze towards the end of the fingertips, then walk the hands back towards the ankles. Let's swap the leg crossover again. So we're constantly changing the weight distribution. We'll bring both hands behind the back. So the palms are going to come behind the back. It might be that you can get your palms fully onto the floor. It might be that you've got a little bit of a lift off the floor. It doesn't matter. Just try not to lean into the fingertips. Try to keep your weight into the palms of the hands, drawing the shoulder blades together, lifting the gaze, looking up towards the ceiling. You can really feel that opening through the chest. Then as you exhale, release and bring your gaze forward. Both hands now onto the knees. Inhale to lift the shoulders up. Exhale to release, to shrug the shoulders away. Inhale to lift the shoulders up. This time, rather than exhaling, I want you to visualize drawing the tummy button in towards the spine, curving your spine towards the back of the room, rounding through the spine, dropping the chin towards the chest. Imagine that you're doing a cat stretch in this seated position. On the inhale, you're going to apply a little bit of pressure through the palms to allow you to bring the sternum forward, to roll the shoulders back, to lift your gaze and look up towards the ceiling. So this is in effect a seated cow pose. So exhaling, rolling into the cat stretch. Inhaling, lifting into the seated cow pose. One more time, rolling the spine. Meow. Inhaling into the good old Highland coo. Moo. I know you've missed that. Then relax again into that seated, centered position. Lovely. Let's just bring the soles of the feet together. We've done a little bit of work here around the hip sockets, a little bit into the inner thighs. Let's just gently soften the knees, encouraging a little more space through the inner thighs, lifting and lengthening out of the sit bones. I prefer to position my hands just around the toes. We want to avoid, if we can, pulling the toes up. So try to keep the feet relaxed to the floor. A little bit further back. Then as you exhale, hinge forward. I think it helps to just let the elbows relax to the outside of the thigh, the outside of the shins. Keep drawing the sternum down towards the feet. And in exactly the same way as we said with the wide leg fold, there's nothing to be gained by rushing to get your head to the floor. So maintain that diagonal. Feel that gentle release in the lower back. Deeply gorgeous if you suffer from sciatica or any lower back discomfort. Then as you exhale, engage the core and gently slide back to center. Lovely. So for now, I'm just going to keep my left hand rested on the left ankle. I'm going to take hold of the right foot. So you can either just wrap the fingers around the toes, but keep your grip nice and soft. There's no need to kind of have white knuckles. Or if you want to be fancy, index finger, middle finger wrapped around the big toe and gently push through the heel. So the intention here is to maintain a center line so that your balance is not affected. And to just observe what's happening here at the back of the leg. We're often very tight in the hamstrings. Keep pressing through the heel, lifting through. I'd actually attached a little lamp to my television screen. It obviously didn't like that. Then bring that foot back to center. Let's try it on the other side. I always say it's very easy when we do one leg at a time. Keep pressing through the heel, lifting and lengthening. So ideally you want to kind of notice what's going on in the back of the thigh rather than the inner thigh. I love the use of the strap there. Brilliant. Well remembered. That's where all these props come in handy. Then bring that foot back to center, engage the core, push both heels away. No leaning against the bed or against the wall. Keep pressing through the heels, engaging down through the sit bones, lifting through the sternum. Beautiful. What's the worst that can happen? Then bring the soles of the feet together. Lift up and lengthen. Exhale, let's come back in again to that lovely forward fold. We'll find we just managed to find a little bit of extra space here. Then engage the core, lift back to center. So you can stay in your position facing forward. I'm going to turn side on because I think it gives you a better view of this next posture. So we're going to come into a seated Dandasana. Again, I'll remind you, it's best not to be pushing those knees towards the floor. We always want a little bit of play. Toes pointing up towards the ceiling, pressing through the heels is preferable. Now, if like me, you're tight in the hamstrings and the calves, you'll already be feeling this. Just switching my toes on is enough to give me that little bit of tension. Let's lift and lengthen out of the sit bones. And we'll do this the nice kind way that we did last week. We'll bring the hands to shoulder height. So we're kind of allowing that little bit of extra weight in the upper body to ease us forward. Remember, there's no gold stars if we curve the spine. You don't want to be feeling this in the back. You want to be feeling it in the back of the legs. Remind yourself on an inhale to re-lengthen. On an exhale to hinge a little more deeply into the space. And just watch that little bit of rounding in the middle back. It's very difficult to switch off. Rather than bringing the hands down, which will affect the lower back, let's bring the palms together. Let's make an Anjali Mudra. Fold that Anjali Mudra back to heart center. Push into the heels, lift and lengthen out of the sit bones. Lovely. Then reposition the hands either side of the hips. Beautiful. It might help to shuffle the bottom forward. We're going to roll back and lie on our backs. Beautiful. That's better angle. So bend the knees up. Feel that you're lying on the knobbly bit at the back of your head. Draw the shoulder blades together. If you have space to do so, let's widen the arms again, the way that we did earlier in that ego eradicator pose. So the wrists are just slightly lower than the shoulder joints, palms are open, lifting the palms up or turning the palms up towards the ceiling. Then on an out breath, all we're doing is gently rolling the knees over to the right side. And for now, we're just keeping that left shoulder to the floor. To help keep that shoulder down, try turning the gaze over the left arm. And again, we're just noticing where any resistance might be. As you exhale, engage the core. Roll the knees back to center. Take the knees to the opposite side. Give it a moment in center. Pressing that right shoulder to the floor, then turn your gaze over the right arm and just feel how much easier that is. Creates that little bit of extra space to the side of the rib cage. Then as you exhale, engage the core, draw the knees back again to center. Let's hug both knees in towards the chest. We're going to draw a little figure of 8 with the knees. So you feel as though you're rolling through the back of the hips, rocking from one side to the other, drawing that little figure of 8, keeping everything nice and soft and groovy. As you bring your knees back to center, you're going to be moving the knees in opposite directions. So you want about a hip width distance between the knees. Keep the hands on the knees, push the knees away, draw the knees wide, then start to draw circles with the knees. So rather than going from one side to the other, you're keeping the knees together, then widening them to create circles. If you're confused by that, have a look at what I'm doing, because it is a difficult one to get your brain. I think we're all doing it perfectly. Well done. Then we're going to keep those knees up above the hips as we are. Take the arms wide once more. And we're going to repeat that belly twist. So the difference is we had the feet on the floor before. This time we're allowing the weight of the legs to roll to the right as we take our gaze to the left. So you'll notice that this is much more intense twist to the back, to the side of the pectoral muscles, into that underarm. Again, we want to really keep that left shoulder on the floor. If you're tight here, it will be pinging up. Then as you exhale, engage the core, roll the knees through center. Slide the knees over to the opposite side, turning the gaze this time over the right arm. We've all got one side that's tighter than the other. This side might feel a little more pleasant for you. Notice the differences. Observe that the longer we stay in this position, the more we start to find a little bit of space, a little bit of extra edge. Visualize inhaling from fingertip to fingertip, widening through the chest. Then as you exhale, roll both knees back again to center. I'm a big fan of hugging the knees again in towards the chest and just gently rocking from one side to the other, keeping the lower back happy. Now replace both feet to the floor. I'll remind you that in the same way as we talk about mountain pose, it being helpful for ladies to have their feet hip width distance apart, it's probably a good idea when we're lying in this position to have the feet in that similar hip width distance rather than rammed close together. Bring the hands back again either side of the hips, palms turned up to the ceiling, shoulder blades drawn together. So naturally your lower back is going to jump from the floor here. Let's have a little bit of conscious awareness here. Let's try to control that jump up. So as you exhale, draw the tummy button in and just slightly close that little gap in the lower back. Now, as you inhale, push into the soles of the feet, lift the bottom from the floor and open the thighs towards the ceiling. It's not unusual here for the knees to roll apart. We want to again control that. Bring the knees in line with the hips, keep the knees stacked above the ankles, press the shins forward. That will create a little bit more stretch through the thighs into the hip flexors. Keep pressing through the shins. Because we've controlled the core, we're not overarching in the lower back. Let's try now inhaling to lift the arms overhead. Notice again, those of you with shoulder mobility issues, you might be easier keeping the arms to the side. Let's breathe those arms to the floor, press the shins forward, lift the thighs, keep that nice opening through the chest. Then we're going to maintain control here. We're not going to dump ourselves back down like a sack of potatoes. So bring your awareness to the space at the back of the neck, to the space between the shoulder blades, and start to gently roll down through the spine, vertebra by vertebra. Notice if you're peeling off the floor, try to resist that temptation. Roll through the middle back. Start to feel the spine through the lower back, easing the back of the hips to the floor. My arms are now shaking, so I must be doing something right. Wiggle the fingers, then exhale, hug the knees in towards the chest. Beautiful. I'm going to keep the left knee bent, so the sole of that foot will go to the floor. And I'm going to reach forward to take hold of that right toe again. So I'll remind you, you can either have the hand round the foot or index finger, middle finger around the big toe. If you do have a belt or a strap or even a sock, that will give you a little bit of extra space to control this next move. Let's keep the left hand rested down by the side, palm again turned up towards the ceiling, keeps the shoulder relaxed. Inhale to widen through the chest. As you exhale, push that right heel up towards the ceiling. So again, this gives you a sense of a gentle stretch towards the back of the hamstring. Sometimes using a strap can be beneficial here because if your arm is quite short, like mine is, you haven't got enough length to really create a stretch through the back of the leg. Try to keep that left knee tracking in line with the hip. So we're making sure that we're not rolling to the side as we exhale and release that right foot out to the right side. Keep pressing through the heel. If you feel yourself rolling onto the right hip, take the left knee a little wider. Press through the heel. Turn your gaze to look over the left arm. It's important that we keep that center line of the body attached to the floor. Then as you exhale, engage the core. Roll that leg back again to center. Let's have a little bend in that right knee, hugging the knee to the chest. Then replace that foot to the floor. Draw the left knee in. So the right knee is bent, foot on the floor, taking hold to the inside of that left knee. If you go to the outside, you'll run out of space very quickly. Press through the heel. Widen the right arm out. Relax the shoulders back. Relax the hips back. We'll start that gradual release of taking that left leg out to the side. You might notice that you're rolling to that side, so widen the right knee. Turn your gaze over the right arm. Keep pressing through the heel. Beautiful. If you've got some jelly beans going on in your legs, you're doing it right. Then as you exhale, engage the core, roll that foot back to center. Let's bring the right knee back in alignment, hug the left knee in towards the chest. Bring the right knee up and in. Take hold of both feet. It's far easier doing it lying on your back than sitting upright. Push through both heels. So instead of straightening the legs on this one, we're going to keep a nice comfortable bend in the knee. I like to almost imagine that I'm tucking the knees underneath my armpits. The elbows are nice and soft. And as you apply gentle pressure onto the soles of the feet, just feel that little extra lift across the lower back, that area where we often hold tight muscle. You can't work out who that is. Louise, it's Louise. Take your feet a little bit wider. Yep, beautiful. And then gently rock from one side to the other. I've helpfully switched your names off. Then bring yourself back again to center, hugging the knees once more in towards the chest. Then replacing both feet to the mat. I'm going to get you to extend your legs forward now. So we're lying fully supine, feeling that support from the back of the head through the shoulders, that natural lift in the lower back. You might notice I've done this, so I'm guessing that some of you will have done this too. There's a tendency in this position to clench the buttocks. So let's let the buttocks go. Relax the hips. That often creates for me a little release in the inner thigh. The ankles become heavy. And just take a moment. Once more allowing the full weight of the body to release to the floor. On an inhalation, either lift both arms overhead, or if that's not within your range of movement, take them out to the side. Relax the shoulders back to the floor, open through the chest. So we did this with the knees bent before, which is a lot kinder on the lower back. So just notice where this creates tension for you. As you exhale, engage the core. Draw the feet back in, bending the knees, drawing the knees towards the chest, placing the hands to the shins. And again, we'll just allow that little rock. So I've been quite kind so far. We haven't really gone for the core, which you will recall is one of my favourite areas of torture. I don't mean torture, I mean relaxation. So let's stack the knees directly above the hips. Let's have the heels in right line with the knees, toes pointing up towards the ceiling. So you've created a 90-degree angle at the knees. And the thing you're going to remind yourself is not to rest the feet together, not to bring the knees together. Just give yourself a little bit of gap. Beautiful. So again, this is a point because the weight of the legs is pulling us off the floor that you might notice the lower back has lifted. Once more, work with your breath, inhaling to expand through the chest, exhaling to draw the tummy button in and really push that lower back to the floor, really support the lower back. Now we're going to bring the arms straight above the shoulders. So you kind of in effect look like an upside down table in this position. You're making sure there's no tension in the neck, so often just relaxing the jaw down, relaxing the chin, widening through the back of the shoulders, feeling that connection as though you're resting through the flats of the shoulder blades, through the back of the hips. So all we're doing here is just testing the strength of the core by creating a little bit of gravitational challenge by having the arms and the legs up in the air. Beautiful. On an out breath, let's either take those arms out to the side if shoulders permit, or slide the arms back until the upper arms are either side of the ears, resting the thumbs an inch from the floor. Check in again that your lower back hasn't peeled as a result of this. Exhale, engage the core, push the lower back to the floor. Again, another potential jelly bean moment. Let's take our minds off of this concentrated effort by inhaling to point the right toe, exhaling, bringing that foot back to flexion. Inhale, point the left toe, exhale, bring it back to flexion. Inhale, point both toes away, exhale, bring both toes back into flexion. Imagine your feet like windscreen wipers, so they stay connected at the knees and through the ankles as you just slightly wipe the feet from one side to the other. So there's no action in the hips, we're not moving the legs, just the feet at the ankles. Perfect, that's better. Then bring the feet back to center. Anyone else getting the wobble, or is it just me? I'm getting a few thumbs up there, so it's not just me. Good. As you exhale, hug the knees in. Place the hands to the shins. Just give your lower back a little bit of a rest. Once more, place both feet onto the mat. Bring the hands either side of the hips, shoulder blades together. We're going to repeat the bridge lift that we did earlier, remembering that we want to control how much flexion we have in the lower back. So keep that tummy button drawn in. Make sure those knees are hip width apart. Don't let the knees roll out wide. Push down into the soles of the feet, lift the bottom. Gorgeous stretch through the top of the thighs into the hip flexors. Let go of tension in the buttocks. At this point, grab your bottom. If it feels tight, it means that you're putting tension into the buttocks. Relax, relax, relax. Lift the right heel, push down into the ball of the right foot. Keep those thighs lifted. Replace that right heel, peel the left heel off the floor. Beautiful. Replace that heel. Imagine that you're walking through the feet, so you're transferring the weight from right to left, but the hips don't move. They stay perfectly in one place. All the action is through the hamstrings, through the buttocks. Let's press both heels into the floor. Press the shins forward, lift the thighs, widen through the chest. We'll keep the arms nice and relaxed by our sides as we slowly once more roll down through the spine, vertebra by vertebra. Don't rush this action, enjoy the release. Then as you reach ground zero, hug both knees again in towards the chest. So I'm going to get you prepared now for your final Shavasana. If you would prefer to dim the lights where you are, if you feel that you need to pull a layer on, now is a good time to do that. Maybe have a swift swig of Prosecco if that's how you rock and roll. So we're taking the Shavasana again in corpse pose. But that isn't the same for everyone. So pay attention to where this perhaps brings you discomfort, where you would like to make some adjustments to best support your body. If you're feeling this in the lower back, you might prefer to bend the knees. You might once again wish to allow that little bit of space between the thighs to support the hips. And consider where you place your hands. I always think turning the palms up towards the ceiling in a gesture of receptivity almost sends a message to your brain to say that I'm ready to release, to let go, and to allow the weight of your bones to sink a little more deeply into the floor. Once more, notice the pace of your breath. There is no right or wrong, just in breath following out breath. Perhaps be curious, noticing if any part of the body is asking for a little extra attention at this time. Send the breath to any part of the body that may benefit from a little extra healing. That nourishing inhalation, that cleansing and releasing exhalation. With every in-breath, expanding and widening to fill the space that surrounds you. With every out-breath, releasing any tension, letting go of anything that doesn't serve you. Sometimes we don't even notice tension in our body until we get to the end of the day and we give ourselves permission to unclench. Notice again the position of the tongue. Find that little bit of space between the teeth, between the lips. Tune into the quiet. Be aware of the sound of my voice. Be aware of the noises outside the room, outside your house. Know that all of these sounds can exist simultaneously as you rest your full focus into the quiet of your body, the stillness of your breath. Take a moment here to leisurely scan your body from head to toe, checking in with the familiar. Notice anything that feels different for you. Know that through this steady, deepened, lengthened breath, you're nourishing and energizing, cleansing and releasing, bringing balance back to the body. Leaning into that quiet of the mind. Tune in once more to the physical effects of the breath. Notice again the expansion and widening through the lungs and the ribcage. That softening and releasing as your bones become heavy. Feel the journey of your breath once more. The cool air on the breath in, the warm air on the breath out. Following the breath across the nasal passages, the throat, into the chest, into the belly. Inhaling deeply to the belly, the chest, and the collarbones. Exhaling fully from the collarbones, the chest, the belly last. Filling the lungs completely. Emptying the lungs fully. Allow yourself once more to release the breath with an audible sigh. Allow the breath to find its way back to a comfortable, easy rhythm. As you become aware once more of exactly how you're holding your body, the shape you make against the floor, noticing the temperature of the air in the room. Slowly returning sensation to the body, wiggling fingers and toes, wiggling the jaw and the nose. If you wish, encouraging a long stretch through the body. You might prefer to hug the knees to the chest and release any tension in the lower back. In your own time, roll to one side, pausing there for a moment, blinking the eyes open, taking in the familiar sights of the room, then returning once more to a comfortable seated position. Again, no pressure to cross legs. It's whatever feels comfortable for you. I always feel cruel making you sit up, particularly when you're at home. I just want to drift off now. Let's bring our hands together to an Anjali Mudra. Touch to the head for kind thoughts, to the lips for kind words, and to the heart for kind intentions. The light in me honours the light in you. Namaste. Oh, that was a very gentle, floaty practice tonight. Do we keep it that pace or do we go a bit mad next week? Bless you.